Hi, a big hello and welcome to my show UnBound. I'm your host Mamtaa, a space curated for real stories of people from different walks of life who have sailed through uncharted waters and lived to tell their inspiring story. UnBound is a deep dive into their journeys to unravel, unearth, uncover various facets of their lives as they remain unstoppable and continue to do the unthinkable. As they open up about their life with me, I'm sure you will find nuggets of wisdom to live unbound too. So let's unbound together. A powerhouse of talent at a young age of 33 years, he is known for his repertoire of films that have made waves both globally and nationally. Believer and teller of stories of human resilience, kindness, love, loss, learning, and life experiences. Today, he stands tall with accolades and awards galore. A multiple award-winning filmmaker, he has directed many films over a span of just over a decade, and his latest film, Saving Chintu, starring Adil Hussain, has already made it to over 30 film festivals, including Bafta and Oscar. He has also recently produced Pankaj Tripathi's first ever short film Lali and currently working on a show greenlit by Amazon. With a degree in computer engineering from Roorkee and a degree in directing and filmmaking from New York Film Academy, he dreamt of being a storyteller from a very early age in his life. Showing life as art and art as life, he has been craving for the world to experience how it is to be like inside his mind. And well, he is right on his way to achieve it too. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tushar Tyagi. Hello, Tushar. Welcome to my podcast, UnBound. How are you today?
Hi, Mamta. Thank you for having me over. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
We are fantastic and we are super excited to have you with us today here.
Same. I'm looking forward to having a lot of conversation, a lot of fun together, and a lot of unbounding to be done.
Absolutely. So let's get started. So Tushar, beginning right from the beginning, tell us, where did this whole idea of being a filmmaker was born, and where was this filmmaker born to begin with?
If I think, and I have at times struggled because nobody in my family has been a filmmaker, let alone like my father did not let us watch TV when we were kids. So I've always struggled to kind of pinpoint that very moment that where I got this inspiration to be a filmmaker. And you know, every time it just leads back to my childhood. I remember I share a very close bond with my nanny. And when I was a little kid, I remember, like, you know, all nannies and mothers do, she used to narrate me stories. And I can almost see myself laying there even now as a third person. I recently lost my nanny to COVID. So, like, she's my safe space. And when I was a kid, she used to like tell us stories, and you know, she would say there was all the once upon a time kind of stories, that there was a king, there was a queen, and all that jazz. And for me, it was, you know, never a king and a queen or a castle. It was always the king, the queen, the castle. So quite early on, I remember around 10 or 11, I didn't even know the word imagination power, but I had sort of in my way figured out that I have this, you know, kind of strength that, you know, I can imagine stuff. From the time I was 12 to the time I was 17, there were a lot of changes happening in my life. So when I was in class 4th, my parents decided to move to Uttar Pradesh, and we ended up moving in Meerut. And, you know, I had new sets of friends, new school, and back then I used to think, and people used to think, and the new kids in this new school used to think I'm weird in a way, because I was very poetic. I would say I was very sentimental as well, very sensitive, very poetic. Just to put it in a nutshell, I was very different. And I remember the only solace I could find at that time that I started writing stories at the back of my notebook. And I still remember I've never been good at studies. So my teacher would call me when they used to check notebook, like there wouldn't be homeworks done. There was nothing done, but they would turn over, at the back of the notebook and they would read stories. And my writing was so bad at times, my teacher, especially my English teacher and my geography teacher, would call me and ask me to read my story. They just kind of they never scolded me for homework not being completed, though they always said, no, you should do your blah, blah, but keep writing these stories, and just kept on going. And yeah, when I told my father at 17, that I want to be a filmmaker, and as all Indian parents do, he was like, you have to get a degree and all that jazz. And my father was like, you need to get an engineering degree. And I was like, okay, I'll get a degree in engineering, that's fine, if that is something that I need to do before you send me to film school. And I was like, I'll do it from Noida, Delhi, somewhere around. And he was like, no, you'll go to Roorkee, because he had studied from Roorkee and he knew there is not even a single film theater. So he sent me to Roorkee thinking within 4 years not watching film, this would grow out of his system, the film bug. But it actually, his plan fired back, because little did he know there is software called Torrent, and hostel, we used to download GBs and GBs of film, and I just ended up watching gazillion films in 4 years, and my love grew. And after that I went for my film.
Wow, so that was the making of the intelligent and technically hands-on filmmaker. Very interesting. But tell me a little bit about your family, your background. Of course, you spoke so fondly about your nanny, and we're really sorry to hear about your loss. But how was it, the family makeup, the background? What did your parents do? How about your siblings?
I have a twin sibling who's very different from me. Hobby-wise, obviously we are fraternal twins, so we don't... My best friend looks like more of my twin than my twin brother does, but we are very different. I'll tell you one thing, Mamtaa, my parents and my paternal grandparents gave me and my brother kind of a perfect childhood. So to say, even if, and this might sound scary or bizarre or weird, but at times if I'm having a bad day or anxious day or just exhaustion or whatever, I have vivid memories from my childhood, happy memories. And I would just close my eyes and I would just let those flashes and memories replay in my head. And that just brings me sense of comfort, sense of safety. So if I'm unable to find any answers, I just close my eyes and I just think of my childhood, those vivid memories.
Wow, I must say that you are indeed very lucky. So now that brings me to your filmography and, your start as a movie maker. So from being a person who had no idea of what an imagination or imaginative life is, to now living in a world inside that is your internal world and wanting to project it all over for the world around. How have you really covered this journey, and when did this realization short sunk in that movies is the way forward for you?
So for me, when I started writing quite early on, and then what used to happen, I remember, I'm talking about when I was 11 or 12 years old, and I used to write on the back of my notebooks. Or remember, we used to have those middle pages that you can take 2 pages out, and I used to do that, and I used to write. I was just be on paper writing for hours and hours, and 3-4 days down, I would look for the paper and the domestic help would be like, oh, we threw it in the dustbin, it was down. And I was like, oh my God, So later on, it was how do I preserve my stories? And at the same time, I remember when we were until 15 or 14, my father, rather until 17, until we were in class 12. So my father, we had TV, but he never had that cable connection attached in the TV. It was always lying around in the backyard in case something urgent happens in the country and he might need to watch the news. So we were not allowed to watch TV, not at all. it was just the curiosity that started with all it started. Like that was my transition. It's like when I used to watch songs and say, how the hell they're able to change clothes right away? Like how does that work? And then
You really wanted to go behind and watch, like, figure it out.
yeah. And also, Mamta, for me, it was like I was trying to understand the technicality of it. And then, I would watch Amitabh Bachchan's film and he's being killed. And then 2 days down, he's doing an interview or he's in, that boggled my mind. And I was pretty young. I was like 12 or so. Then I started kind of asking questions to my parents. And I remember there was one of my friend called Pinky Didi. And she was like, I think 6-7 years elder to me. And I kept asking a question. And she's like, Tushar, this is called filmmaking. You make films. This is how it's done. I'm not sure. Blah. I was like, you know what? I'm interested in this. And I was like, just kept watching films until I was like, I think I was 16 when I came to know, the person who makes film is called film director. It's like, I want to be one. So yeah, that was it.
So what makes you unbound? What are those incidents, those life-turning points which have then had no return, like inspirations, challenges, wisdom, any eureka moment, any interaction that you walked into and then you came out as a different person altogether? What makes you unbound, Tushar?
So, Mamta, I remember I was in college and in third year, and I'm talking about this was 2009 or 10. In my third year, I was walking on the street in Roorkee. I was gonna get pizza, and what happened? I'm just trying to replay that. So what happened? There was a car accident. Two cars collided, and one of the car just came drifting towards me, and I don't know, something happened. Like I was 1 inch away from running into severe accident, severe injuries, maybe lifelong injuries, maybe even death. And I just cannot shed or come out of that experience, even at times until today. So for me, life was pretty chilled out until that moment. And I was like, dude, you need to wake up. I mean, this has happened right now. You don't know how long is your life. I mean, we are pretty, like, that made me aware of my mortality. So that was kind of reactive for me in a sense. And I was like,
Like your adrenaline, was it kind of a rush to then immediately go and achieve and do and get back in action in life? Or did it kind of give you some sort of a rush in that moment?
Yeah, that moment was catalyst for me. My existence, like even today, and it just changes my perspective. I keep reminding myself that how temporary we are. So that also brings kind of a perspective in my life. There are things that you may be planning for 10 years ahead of time, or in 5 years or in 2 years. But I keep reminding myself constantly how temporary this visit is to this piece of rock that is hanging in the middle of galaxy. Nobody knows where when it comes to like entire galaxy. But yeah, so I mean, I keep taking active measures to kind of start putting in those first steps or the founding stones or the things that I maybe want to do in 10 years. But once I'm sure that I want to go for this, I want to do for this, I just start laying little by little bricks, maybe from the next year or the next week. So that if you're not able to build that entire road by the time you are kind of just ending your limited travel or visit here on this planet, at least you have made a part of the road. So yeah, that's how I kind of see it. I don't know if it makes sense.
Wow, that's a lot of depth and wisdom. And again, Tushar, you really flip me on this, because coming from someone who's as young as you, it really does mean a lot.
At UnBound, we believe in the power of unhinged minds and untamed ideas of people from all walks of life. As we sit to talk with some of them, we are listening to your voice too. So, share your ideas, thoughts, or takeaways from this podcast as a review on Apple Podcast, or just drop us a message on Instagram @d.mamtaa. That is @d.mamtaa. You can also mail us at unboundwithmamta@gmail.com. And remember to subscribe and follow this podcast and stay connected with us.
So where does this whole thing, is it something to do with your fears? It's like you faced it's like death is the ultimate reality, or our mortality is the ultimate reality. And when you face it so up close, is that when it kind of changes for you completely?
I think so. And also, I mean, so many people might just call me crazy after this, but also I'll tell you one thing. So many times I see it from and also as a filmmaker, I also see it as a kind of flip side. I don't know if this is the life or this is the death we are living, because I always think that we live in comparison to the life of this universe, or in comparison to the lifeline of time, so to say. We live for a fraction and we are dead forever, right? So I respect death. I admire death when it comes on the right time, but I think it does give me perspective. So I believe you live forever, to be honest, but I also at the time believe that your physicality doesn't live forever. To put me in constant kind of this box, making me realize about my mortality, is that, you won't be having this physical form where you are able to do things like making film, like traveling, like feeling sunlight on your skin forever. So meanwhile you have it, make use of it.
Beautifully said. No, I completely agree with that, Tushar. And also the fact that what you said, it just reminds me of a quote where this one person says to the other that, hey, buddy, let's just do this. We live once. And the person turns around and says, buddy, we live every day. We just die once. So what is the real and ultimate reality? We really don't know whether it's that we are dying every day or are we really living it every day. I think it's just a matter of perspective, how a shift in it can really shift your experience in this human body, on this physical realm and plane. So very interesting. We'll take the conversation further from here, and let's get back to that Tushar who was there right up in New York and understanding all the nuances of filmmaking. So when this transition happened from Roorkee to New York straight away, how did life begin to, unearth and unravel and uncover for you?
It was crazy. So what happened was there I was a young boy from Roorkee, and I'd always seen, films which are shot in New York. And my guilty pleasure at the time was Gossip Girl. I don't know if you know about Gossip Girl. It's a show that's based in New York about teenagers, and it was a lot of fun. And when I went to New York, Mamtaa, I got the cultural shock of my lifetime. I mean, I remember my first sight is when I went to New York. I remember there was a girl and a guy, and they were just strolling and they were kissing each other, and they were kissing each other in the middle of the square, Union Square. And I had never seen that in India. So I instantly knew that I was like, I'm in a different world altogether. Slowly, I kind of got to learn. I mean, I wouldn't say that there is culture in New York like as we have in India, but yeah, they do have their own culture, and I got on with the pace. I love New York. I have hate and I love kind of relationship with New York. It taught me a lot of things. It gave me a lot of things. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Tell us one kind of story that resides in your heart forever. Is there any story, any movie, any book, anything, any piece of inspiration that has always stayed with you?
I would say Pulp Fiction was my first Hollywood film that I saw, and I did not even know that films could be made this way as well. So that has always been Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction has been my inspiration for the longest time. But yeah, I mean, for me as an artist, inspiration keeps changing. I find inspiration, I make film on it, and then I just go in search of next inspiration. So it needs to be kind of cue in and cue out kind of the concept for me.
All right. How about role models? Are there people who have inspired you in life? And these could be people like living people, these could be idols, the world idols and all. Have you ever had any
Yeah, a lot of them. But I'll tell you one thing that for me, role models have never, I'm not saying that never. I mean, when I was a kid, I had a lot of role models. But my lot of role models are the people that I have seen through my life doing stuff. I'll tell you, I'm very impressed by, like right now, I'm very impressed by that there is a couple in our sector in Noida who feeds dogs every day, like every single day. So my kind of people that I get inspired from are the one who would be either traveling in metro or would be in crowd. So pretty general people, so to say.
Wow. How about interactions? How about travel? Do you like traveling? I'm assuming you do.
I love traveling. I think for filmmakers, traveling is quite important because, you need to travel the world, you need to get exposed to different culture, and you need to understand that, in a situation, according to how you have raised based on your bias, you do this. How about people from different culture? How do they react to things?
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
As I know, a lot of creative people who are a little lazy too would say, I travel the world in my mind. Where have you found your influences and something that has completely flipped your decision? Maybe a travel which may have inspired you to make a movie. Has there been any such instance?
Yeah. So my very first film, Gulabi. So what happened was I was working on a film that I had to shoot in New York for 6 months, but and this was back in 2013, because of some health issues, I had to come to India. And that was my first big film, thesis film for my graduation. And, Mamta, I sat in plane and I did not know what I'm going to shoot. And then for me, not eavesdropping, but for me, a lot of the stories come from overheard patches of conversation. So I remember there were two ladies who were sitting next to me in Air India, and one of them was talking about their, I think, 10-year or 8-year-old maid's daughter servant who was abducted and she was sold to brothel. And entire flight I was just imagining her face, how would she look when she smiles, what are her dreams, blah blah blah. In short, I wrote first draft of my very first film in that plane, and then when I came to Delhi after 2 days, I went to Mumbai, and then I went to Kamatipura, which is the biggest brothel in Asia, and I just spoke to a lot of women there who are living their experiences, and I brought a lot of authenticity to the script. And after that film actually went to a lot of film festival. It was like everybody praised the film, and when I show it to...
And this is much before Gangubai, right?
Yes, this is much before Gangubai. When I showed the film to these women that I would just talk to for hours and hours, and two of them started crying, and that was just, she was like, you encaptured the essence of what we live or what we have lived for so many years just in 25 minutes. And that was just again one of the validation and kind of the energy I need to survive and just to go on.
At UnBound, we believe in the power of unhinged minds and untamed ideas of people from all walks of life. As we sit to talk with some of them, we are listening to your voice too. So, share your ideas, thoughts, or takeaways from this podcast as a review on Apple Podcast, or just drop us a message on Instagram @d.mamtaa. That is @d.mamtaa. You can also mail us at unboundwithmamtaa@gmail.com. And remember to subscribe and follow this podcast and stay connected with us.
And where did this whole idea birth from, that you wanted to perhaps by default specialize in this as a medium, which is short moving? How do you become so effective as a storyteller? Because the kind of topics and issues that you pick on are just so sensitive, and they take their own time to really take you over, and by that time the story is done. So how do you manage to do this?
So, Mamta, for me, I mean, as a student filmmaker, we only had budgets to make short films. And, then I started making a lot of short films because, India is waking up to the magic of short film now, but the rest of the world has been woken for a long, long time. And I was in New York. There is entire audience for short films. Now, though I have kind of, moved on to features and series that I'm doing right now, but short film is something that I won't stop doing ever. Even if I could be 80 and, working, I would definitely be making short film because, it puts your creativity to test. I mean, for a feature film, it's comparatively easier to tell your story in, say, 90 minutes or 120 minutes. But how do you leave an impact on audience in 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 25 minutes?
So what keeps your fire burning, Tushar, day on day? How does Tushar Tyagi just kicks himself out of the bed and says, yes, today is another day and I got to rock on? So what keeps you moving?
I think that's just the love for cinema, and then just, again, the time is very limited. Like, if I knew that, okay, I'm here until this date, then I would have chilled. Nobody knows. So the time you have, make use of it. I just say that we are shooting stars. So meanwhile we are shooting, just create that sparks that this night could put together forever, scattered through the night sky. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, wow, very dreamy. Tushar Tyagi, you are slaying. From being that child who could not imagine to being someone who is just so metaphoric in every sentence.
Yeah, at times it bugs me. I'll tell you, Mamtaa, I cannot kind of take myself away from this metaphoric thinking. At times it bugs me, I'm telling you. At times it gets exhausting, but then I come back to it, and you see that in my storytelling.
No, we are loving it. We don't get a guest like you every day, Tushar, and we are loving every piece and every bit of it. So keep being this poetic you. Okay, so one big learning that COVID personally has been for you. I understand that you've lost someone so close and cherished by you, but one big thing that it has taught you?
Just incorporate love and caring. I think, especially during the second wave, we can be divided by color, creed, religion, and so many other dimensions that we kind of force on ourselves. But one learning is love prevails. I still remember, Mamtaa, in second wave of COVID, which was so bad, everybody was putting in on Insta post and doing phone calls for someone that they don't even know requires oxygen. That love, if we just incorporate that, even 10% of that love in our day-to-day life, this world would be a way better place to live in, and we all will be way better people.
Truly unbounded love is what I'm going to say that. And what about your mantra for dealing with failures and mistakes, Tushar? We all end up making some. So what is your mantra to just dust it off and say, okay, this is done and it's a new day, it's a new world, it's a new life?
So I used to be this guy until 5 years back. I would just get very depressed, and by my failures, I would just overthink. But since I'm doing meditation, has really changed me. Since I've started doing meditation, Mamtaa, I really see its bizarre way of seeing things. I really see failures as kind of hidden success or a disguised success, because see, success is an end point. If you have reached somewhere where you meant to reach, you have attained it. That's a dead end. But failures are, if you have not reached there, if you fail, then you take a U-turn and you try and test different method. That gives you experience that you can use 10 other places. And that's, for me, is the real success.
Wow, drum rolls on that, Tushar Tyagi. We will definitely going to give you a drum roll on that one. No, what you said is truly, truly not only deep, wise, but it's truly true. And, we do resonate with this thought, and we've had many guests resonate with this thought on UnBound, that either it is a success delayed, or this is another way to unfold and teach you a lesson which can take you an inch further closer, or give you another way of perspective in life, that okay, this could be another way to get to your success. So very well said. One go-to song that works like magic for you, like you play that song and you're in your zone.
It's closing time for me. A closing time. Open all the doors.
All right, sing it for us.
So it goes like, closing time. Open all the doors and I'm a bad singer, but this is how the song goes. I'm not even bathroom singer. I'm muffled singer. If I have to sing, I put cushions on my face and then I sing it.
Okay, some gyan or pearls of wisdom that you would like to share with our listeners today?
I would just say, just have faith in your hard work and just do. This is one thing that quickly I want to say, and I also incorporate in my life. If you want to do something that you're passionate about, go do it, because you don't want to be 50, 60, 70 or 75 whenever you're taking your last breath on hospital bed or maybe comfortable in your bedroom, thinking or stuck at that 25 or 26-year-old, 15-year-old guy or girl, thinking, if I would have done that, my life would have been a little bit different to this point. So go do it, know your answer.
Do it, guys. Just do it. I'm going to now get into a very quick rapid reflex round with you. Are you ready to give us answers in not more than a word or maybe few words, Tushar?
Yes, let's do it. Let's try it.
Okay, so take a deep breath and let's start rolling. One thing you would like to change about our education system?
We don't teach kind of real life learnings like love or compassion or acceptance. So I don't know what subject it would be, but yeah, I would like to incorporate that. Like just love and compassion.
Sure. One thing you wish parents never said to children?
That would be, in my experience, you should do that or you should go for that. No, different person, different experience.
One thing you wish you knew at the age of 20?
At the age of 20, I just wish I knew that go learn your lessons, go for your heart, go follow your heart. That's it.
Okay, one thing you wish you know now?
That would be just my next screenplay, the climax of my next screenplay that I've been sitting on for 6 months now.
That answer will pop up in your dreams tonight.
I wish.
One thing you wish never existed in this world?
HIV and cancer, 2 things.
One thing you would like to unlearn?
Is how to unlearn anxiety. That's one thing.
Okay. One thing you wish could exist forever?
Everything goes back to love. Yes, love.
He is, what should we say, a fatalistic romantic, or like, what should we call you, Tushar? Give us an adjective. You start your day with?
Oh, one thing that I started my day with, drinking 2 glasses of water.
Okay, your daily diet includes?
Lots and lots of protein and lots of, salad.
Your day ends with?
My day ends with prayer.
What do you see yourself accomplishing in next 2 years, and then 5 years, and then 10 years from today?
From 2 years, definitely making at least 2 feature films. From 5 years now, I want to have a charity school for underprivileged kids, at least 1, and then I want to start chain of it. In 10 years, hopefully a freaking Oscar.
Yay! Why 10 years, Tushar? We see you getting there in 2, please.
I would love that. I want to just give myself a time to kind of hail the impact of that, so that's why I'm putting...
But you've been talking about time all the time, so I would give 2 years to you. Yeah. What's your biggest weakness?
What is my biggest weakness? I am very emotional and hopeless romantic.
Okay. And gifts should be. Please complete this sentence.
Any plant.
Okay. And people must be?
Polite.
Yeah. That was truly being unbound, Tushar. And you can catch some breath now.
That was so much fun.
With that, we come to the end of the show, Tushar. And one thing I would like to add, while your dream is to share the world inside of you with the world outside, I really wish that the expanse of your internal universe keeps growing and continues to enchant, allure, engage, and completely swoon us over. Thank you so much, Tushar Tyagi, for being on the UnBound with Mamtaa.
Thank you, Mamtaa, for having me. It was so much fun, unbounding yourself, and it was a lot of fun.
Yes, keep dreaming, keep imagining, and keep creating. And thanks for sharing your journey with us. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I would love to know from you what idea or insight you unboxed from today's conversation. Just drop me a message over LinkedIn or in my inbox, and remember to follow this podcast so that when the next episode drops, you can join me for yet another one too. Keep coming and keep unbounding. Till then, this is your host Mamtaa signing off.